You are listening to The Hero's Journey. I'm Dan Zarzana.
And I'm Jeff Garvin.
Let the journey begin. This episode of The Hero's Journey is made possible by generous contributions from listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/heroesjourney to make a single donation or become a monthly sponsor and earn access to bonus content and the right to vote for the subject of our next episode.
And I am super excited to say thank you to our demigod patrons.
Yes.
Dean Ethington. And our newest demigod patron.
We have a new one?
John Peterson Jr.
This is episode 18, Bad Moms.
The following episode may contain content and language unfit for sensitive listeners.
Yeah, no doubt. Everything that comes out of Kathryn Hahn's mouth in this film adds to the MPAA checklist.
This movie came out like 6 months after Ami and I adopted our kids. And
okay.
So I think that's why I love this movie so much, because every time she said something horrible or swore, I was like, yes, that is parenting.
Yeah.
Bad Moms came out in July 2016 from STX Films. And on that note, this is one of many American movies of the last few years that appear to be funded by companies overseas. There are like 4 logos
right
at the top of this movie. Like, there's like 15 minutes of different logos and animated sequences with the logo and the music.
Well, half of them are American. Universal and STX, those are...
But those are distribution companies. Like, it seems to me that whoever got this movie made, they went overseas to get it made, and then they sold it and got distribution.
Yeah, because Huawei Brothers is a Chinese company. Well, Tang Media, the 4th logo, that's an American...
Oh, is it?
American company founded by a Chinese immigrant.
I enjoy their orange drink.
All right. Bad Moms was written and directed by John Lucas and Scott Moore, who also wrote the follow-up, A Bad Mom's Christmas.
Which will absolutely be our Christmas film this year.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely.
No.
Yes.
As well as The Hangover,
Never
21 and Over.
Never heard of it.
Other movies with over in the title. Bad Moms was nominated for 0 Oscars and 0 Golden Globes.
Robbed. But Mila Kunis won the Jupiter Award for Best International Actress.
I don't even know what does that mean?
I don't know. I mean, she
international to, I guess, everybody. So Juniper Awards must be a non-American awards program.
Was born in Ukraine, so maybe that makes her an international actress. I don't know.
That just sounds like a problematic category.
Yeah.
The film did also win the People's Choice Award for Favorite Comedic Movie.
That seems like an appropriate acknowledgement for this movie. It is not,
right.
Maybe not Oscar or Golden Globe quality, but it is totally a great, funny movie.
It's an enjoyable comedy.
And it grossed $183 million worldwide against a $20 million budget.
Yeah.
It nuncupled its budget.
It
nuncupled. Nuncupled.
Nuncupled?
Nuncupled.
Is that how you pronounce that?
That's like tripled, quadrupled, nuncupled.
Is ninefold.
Ninefold, yeah, I looked that up.
Nuncupled. I can't imagine that we're pronouncing that right.
Take that to the bank. We not only entertain, but we educate here on the Hero's Journey.
Is that what's happening? We're being educational?
Yep.
All right, let's do this. Choke down those frozen waffles, chug your mimosa, and pile into our Chrysler Pacifica minivan. Because we're going to go party with Bad Moms.
Act 1 of The Hero's Journey begins with the ordinary world, or as Joseph Campbell called it, say it with me, listeners, world of common day. We've been doing this for a long time. I know you know what's up. This is where we see our character in her status quo normal life. Amy Mitchell is an overworked, overcommitted mom in the suburbs of Chicago. Do we have any statistics on how many of the films we've covered take place in the suburbs of Chicago?
Yeah, this is the second one in a row.
The second one?
Yeah, in a row.
I wonder how many American films overall appear with locations in the suburbs of Chicago. I feel like it should be a gross overrepresentation. Like all the John Hughes movies. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
Amy works for a hip coffee company.
Yep.
She has 2 kids, the anxious Jane and the slacker Dylan. And she is married to a douchey mortgage broker named Mike.
I wondered how you were going to categorize Mike.
Douche canoe.
Sure, yeah.
Amy takes care of everyone. She makes breakfast, she makes lunches, she takes care of the dog, and she also tries to work out once a week.
Right.
Okay, I know I go...
She's a super mom.
She's a super mom. She's insane. And I know I go on rants on this podcast, and I'll try to minimize them here.
Let's get this one out of the way.
It bothers me when we show super fit people on screen and you see them eating like donuts at McDonald's and saying, I work out once a week. Like to look like Mila Kunis looks in this movie, you have to be on keto and you have to be on the treadmill 40 minutes a day and doing Pilates and yoga. Like she does not work out once a week. That is...
Well, she runs constantly. Maybe that's how she burns her calories. Sprinting from parent-teacher conference to kids' science fair to...
There you go.
She gets in her steps.
So that's my world of common day.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. The second segment is the call to adventure, where the hero is presented with a challenge that renders them unable to continue living in the comfort of the ordinary world. Now, here's where I started to have a problem already.
Me too!
Is I saw two things that could be considered calls to something, certainly not adventure. One is Amy catches her husband Mike having an online affair.
Oh my God.
Walks in on him while he's enjoying the webcam.
No,
and she kicks him out of the house.
That was... I remember watching this movie and being totally surprised that they were going there in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, that is the reverse save the cat moment. She walks into his office and he is like pants down in his garage.
Right.
And she's like, oh, are you watching porn?
Yeah.
Like,
I always wondered what kind of porn you like.
and like, that was one of those moments where you fall in love with her character. Like, she is so taking care of everyone. She even wants to help him, wank
right.
off.
She's encouraging the porn habit.
and his excuse is, no, I was just checking my prostate.
I love you hear him furiously clicking the mouse.
Why won't this window
close? Oh dear. Yeah, so there's that moment. And then there's the moment at the emergency PTA meeting where Gwendolyn James, played, I think, wonderfully by Christina Applegate.
Oh, she's a brilliant in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So she is putting together a bake sale police force,
right,
to make sure that all of the baked goodies don't have any, and then she rattles off this amazing... I don't know if she
no BPA, no PHA.
Memorized that, or if there were cue cards off camera that she used, but she just rattled that stuff off really impressively.
Yes.
No BPA, no MSG, no BHA, no BHT, plus no soy, no sesame, and of course no nuts or eggs or milk or butter or salt or sugar or wheat.
And she picks Amy out of the crowd to volunteer for the bake sale, and Amy says...
No. What's that now?
Somebody has dared to say no to Gwendolyn James. And that sets off the sequence of events with the Amy versus Gwen storyline.
I had the same two things.
Okay.
I had pegged both of those things. I think it's hard to say which is which, but I think the catching her husband having an online affair is the big one, because she gets so upset. She, takes her hand on his desk and pushes everything off, including the monitor. She's so angry in that moment. That's what kind of cracks her, my perfect life isn't perfect. And that is certainly the thing that compels her to then reject Gwendolyn's invitation. So I see the most obvious invitation to adventure, Gwendolyn's request. But I think the bigger moment that shakes her up is that catching her husband and realizing that her life isn't what she thought it was. And that's what makes her unable to continue living in the ordinary world.
Yes.
Well, that brings us to refusal of the call. Confronted with the fear of the unknown, our hero refuses to engage in the adventure. Sometimes this energy is expressed from within the hero, sometimes from without. I had written down that she says no and quits the PTA.
Yep, that's what I said too.
But that's not really a refusal of the call, because she's not... The adventure isn't be part of the... Wow.
VX rockets.
VX gas rockets. And I have VX rocket. Wow.
You're having a really hard time saying VX
I really
rockets.
am. The adventure isn't to be part of the PTA. The adventure is to live a true life and to be her authentic self.
Yeah.
That said, That's really the only reflection of that moment I could find in the script, because she actively seeks the special world in this movie.
Right.
So if there's refusal, it's from without. It's from Gwen and her cronies pushing back. It's from Mike pushing back on her, saying, stay the same, still be Supermom. Her kids are both like, wait, you're not making breakfast for us anymore? Everyone's expectations are pressing her to try and remain the Amy she has been. So I think that's probably the truer, as I think about it now, the truer expression of the refusal.
I can buy that. I picked the bake sale, quitting the PTA at the bake sale meeting too, but what you've just said makes sense. Next segment is meeting with the mentor. Joseph Campbell called this supernatural aid. This is where the hero receives counsel on how to operate in the special world. So after quitting the PTA, Amy heads to a bar.
Yes.
Where she sits down next to Carla, played by Kathryn Hahn. And this is where the adventure to exploring what it's like to be a crazy single mom, bad mom happens.
Yes.
I think Carla is the mentor in this movie throughout. When I first watched the movie, I thought Carla was a completely obnoxious, hateable character. I did not like Carla at all. But after subsequent viewings, she became funnier to me. And then I started to recognize that Carla is almost the heart of the movie. She's the one that gets Amy moving and encourages Amy to do all of these things, for good or bad. She's a bad influence in some cases, but she's also a very strong good influence toward the end of the film.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the writers did a really great job of putting Amy, aka Mila Kunis, in the middle and then surrounding her with the two extremes. Here's Carla on the far, far evil angel. She's the devil on the shoulder saying, no, let's drink and go to screw around. Yeah. And then on the other side, there's Kiki, who is super good, super perfect, like model housewife.
But to a really hyper submissive degree.
Yes, they are the polar opposites.
Right.
And Amy is somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. I also think the casting was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because here's Mila Kunis, who has... When you work on a sitcom for, 7 seasons the 70s show was on, that 70s show? I don't know. When you work, 5-6 days a week on a show like that for 7 years, your comic timing becomes impeccable. But in this movie, she's kind of the straight girl. Her stuff isn't so much funny, except that it's in comparison to these two hilarious, very improvisational performances from the other two girls.
Yeah.
And she does this great job of anchoring the emotional heart of this movie so the other two women can just play.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to the scene that I just want to play the whole scene on audio, but yeah, I agree. That's the meeting with the mentor for sure.
All right.
That brings us to crossing the threshold. The hero must pass a barrier to enter the special world, and this crossing represents our hero's commitment to taking on the adventure. So there's so many great sequences in this crossing the threshold. I think it unfolds over a series of scenes as Amy awakens to her new personal power. The beginning of it is the supermarket sequence.
Absolutely it is.
Where Amy and Carla and Kiki go through the supermarket. They're chugging vodka and pouring cereal into their mouths and flirting with the security guard.
It's a really great montage. And the song,
is that the Ting Tings? Who is that?
It's Icona Pop. Icona Pop?
Icona Pop, probably.
Icona? It's Icona Pop.
I kind of imagine it's something else.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that supermarket sequence is just women being the worst versions of themselves and having a blast.
Right.
Tasting freedom for the first time.
Right. They go completely overboard. And I agree. That is the crossing of the first threshold.
Yeah.
That's Act 1.
Boom.
The end.
Fantastic.
All right. Let's take a break. I need to refill this coffee.
Amen. It smells so good in Dan's house right now. He's got this candle that smells like pancakes and maple syrup.
Yeah.
It's making me very hungry. We should go to a diner for lunch. A diner that serves booze.
I'm trying to think if there are any around here.
So, Dan.
Yes, sir.
What have you been reading, watching, playing?
I just finished a book called Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens.
What?
Delia. I think it's Delia Owens.
Iconopop?
Narrated by Cassandra Campbell. Really, really good book. I did not know what to expect. This is a book for the wine book club, of which I am a member. So I knew nothing about it. I'd never heard of it. Didn't know what to expect. Really pleasantly surprised. Really good, heartfelt story about a young girl living in the marsh of coastal North Carolina I think it starts in the 50s or something. I can't remember. I should know that. Anyway, her mother leaves her, and then her siblings one by one leave, and then it's just her and her father, her abusive father, and then it's how she ultimately ends up surviving alone in the marsh.
Wow.
And her relationship with the nearby town and the rumors and whispers of the townsfolk about the marsh girl. And she kind of becomes a legend, sort of. But there's also a love story in there that I'm usually not really impressed with. I don't know. I'm just not like a romance story guy. But this one was really interesting. I was taken in by it. And the narrator, I listened to this on Audible, like I do so many of my books now that you've converted me.
Yes.
And Cassandra Campbell does a fantastic job of doing all these different
Is she an actress
voices.
I would know?
I'm not familiar with her personally. This is my first experience with her, but she's very good. She is a female, and there are a lot of male characters. And usually, I find that when somebody does a character voice for the gender that they are not, it's just weird.
Yeah. Especially love scenes.
Yes, it's really gross, especially in Bosch. Yeah. Like, Dick Hill does a great Bosch narration, but when he has to do tender love scene between Bosch and it's just creepy.
It always reminds me of the scene from Spaceballs when he's playing with his dolls.
Oh, leave me alone. No, kiss me. No, yes, no, yes.
So that's what I read. Playing, I have just started Watch Dogs 2, which is a GTA-esque like open world in a big city. This one takes place in San Francisco. But instead of it being a crime fantasy game like Grand Theft Auto is, you play a hacker. The sci-fi aspect of it is the city is managed by a citywide operating system that a company called Bloom owns and operates. What? And it's like big data taken to this huge, not quite dystopian degree, but this is Ubisoft, the game developer, saying here's where we're headed. Surveillance cameras everywhere, but this character that you play can hack traffic lights. You know, if you're driving in a car and you're being chased, you go through an intersection and as you're going through it, you hack the traffic lights so the lights change and traffic crosses in front of your pursuer and cuts them off or causes a traffic accident.
That's awesome. I gotta play this
game. Things like that. The character you play, Marcus, is so likable that I have a hard time committing crimes as Marcus because it seems completely out of character for him. So it's difficult when you start the game and you wake up after a really raging beach party, and you wake up and you're in your underwear, and your first mission is to go to a clothing store and buy some new clothes. But it's miles away, and you have no vehicle, so you either walk or you steal somebody's car, and it just seemed so not like him to steal a car. So I actually had I kind of role played it a little bit. I had Marcus walk all the way to the way to the clothing store, and I just kind of looked at the environment, and it was really, really impressive. It's a really impressive game. And then my final thing is I've discovered a series of YouTube videos that are produced by Wired, featuring a dialect coach named Eric Singer, Eric with a K, and he breaks down movie accents.
What?
He will talk about different accents that are used and kind of critique them and talk about the different elements of the accent. He talks about what happens in your mouth and in your throat when you're trying to do a certain accent. It's really fascinating.
Please send me a link, and we'll post the links on the website too.
What about you? I kind of went on and on there.
Oh man, in terms of watching, nothing. I've had no time, but in terms of reading, I read the first James Patterson novel, Along Came a Spider. I finally finished that murder mystery that I read the first 5 pages of last year and talked about. The Word is Murder by Anthony Horowitz. This is the book where it's considered a meta mystery because the writer writes as himself And so he makes reference to the rest of his career and the books he's writing and how this new mystery that he's writing, his agent is mad at him for writing it instead of writing something else. And it's kind of a Watson and Holmes situation where one of the detective consultants that works on his TV show, which is a real TV show called Foyle's War on BBC. So he's writing this show, and one of the consultant detectives comes to him and says, I'm involved in a case and I want you to write about me. And it's an ongoing investigation. So he doesn't even know if there's going to be a good story there, but he agrees to it. And so he starts accompanying Hawthorne, this detective, on all of his investigations, and the murder mystery unfolds. This is really the book that made me really understand what the difference between a mystery and a thriller mystery is, because there's no peril for the protagonists for the first 75% of the book. You just have to be interested in the story. There's almost no personal stake. There's a little bit of personal stake, but you just really have to be interested in the mystery.
Okay.
So the first half of it, I really had to work to get through. But by the time I was halfway through, I started to dig it. And then I listened to Pet Sematary because I want to see the film.
Yeah.
Maybe one of my top 5 Stephen King books now. I did not think it was I thought it was just a crazy horror book and I wasn't going to be into it. But, and maybe it's because I have kids. It's a really haunting exploration of what death means. And how do you say goodbye? And do you really want to live forever? Just fascinating questions. And also a really great father-son story. The main character moves into a new house across the road from this old guy, and he kind of becomes the main character's surrogate father. And then I read Elevation by Stephen King, which came out last year, which I had...
It's a novella? The little tiny book, right?
Yeah, it's a novella, and it's clear. It seems to me he started to write a short story, and it just ended up being long. And because he's Stephen King, he published it.
Right.
But I borrowed the audiobook from my library, and Stephen King reads it. And I love listening to Stephen King read his own stuff. So it's about a man who starts losing weight, and he doesn't know why. And his body is not changing, but his weight is decreasing and decreasing. And it doesn't matter. Like, he could go into the other room and pick up a stack of books and stand on the scale, and it doesn't affect his weight. He could go pick up dumbbells. So whatever he picks up also is reduced in weight. And so...
Wow. How bizarre.
As it gets closer to the end of the book, he's trying to make plans for what happens when there's no more weight. And it's almost like a fairy tale, like a dark fairy tale. But so he lives in this town, and he sort of gets involved in the lives of some of the people. But it doesn't have any kind of deep giant resolution. It just sort of ends in a sweet and hopeful way. But it was totally worth reading, and I recommend it. And the audiobook comes with another short story called Lori, which is about an old man and his dog. And it, too, has no giant story ending, but it's a great Stephen King story. So I highly recommend both of those things.
Cool.
I dipped my toe back into Pillars of Eternity a couple nights ago, and I remembered that I had stopped where I had like 2 giant quests that both needed pretty serious, like, you got to buff up and get ready for the battle and dive in.
Okay.
And so I went one way and played that big boss and got slaughtered. And so I thought, maybe I'm not ready for that. I'll go play this other adventure. And I got slaughtered on the way there. So I'm clearly at one of those points in the game where I have to sack up and and lose some people. So that's it.
Okay. Well, I think we need to exchange our deal or ordeal cards, because since we're heading into Act 2 now. Did you write yours out yet?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Don't look at it yet.
Oh, don't look at mine? I just wrote...
No, don't look at... I'm handing you my choice for you. You're not supposed to look at it
Don't read it. Okay.
Don't read it yet.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to exchange these cards, and we'll be back with Act 2.
Act 2 begins with the Road of Trials, or as Jeff prefers to call it, tests, allies, and enemies. Having crossed the first threshold, this is where our hero meets allies, makes enemies, and must pass a series of tests to prove their worthiness. On the allies front, Kiki and Carla.
Yes.
This one's pretty clear.
There's not a lot of shape-shifting.
Yeah. Gwendolyn and her posse, Stacy and Vicky, those are the enemies.
Yes.
Although Vicky, I feel like she's just along for the ride. Gwendolyn and Stacy don't know why they hang around with Vicky, and I think Vicky's These are the most powerful moms at the school, and so she's just kind of tagging along.
And at one point, toward the end of the movie, she like bails on them, and then the next day she's been replaced with another mom. There's no explanation. It's like, nope, this is the new number 3. It almost took a Heather's kind of a turn with them.
Yeah. And so there's a bunch of tests here. I don't really know that we need to go through all of them, but there's the make your own breakfast. Amy has decided that she's going to be the bad mom. That's the agreement that Kiki and Carla and Amy made the night before at the grocery store. Why are you swaying your head? What's happening to you?
I kind of saw that as part of the crossing of the threshold, because it's not like she's tempted or has any kind. I mean, she's already decided she's not making them breakfast.
Maybe it's a test then for the kids. This is how because the kids are like, what do you mean you're not making us breakfast?
Right.
And she says, you guys are really smart. You can figure it out. Later on that morning, she is having a nice little breakfast on a cafe outside, and her boss calls.
Yeah.
And says, you're late for the meeting. We're all in here in the boardroom. And she said, nah, I'm not coming in. So this is her pushing back on her boss, who, I don't know if we said it, but Amy is a part-time employee. She only works 3 days a week. But there's this joke at the beginning where Dale's like, really? Dale, the boss, says, you're part-time? You're here every day.
Yeah, she's part-time, yet she has an assistant and a giant office.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I get the feeling she seems like she's the head of sales or something. There's the calling Carla and Kiki, getting them to come out to go to a movie and have lunch. And during lunch, they're talking about mom stuff. And there's the question that Amy poses to Carla about what's it like to have to share your child with the ex. It was a mentor moment. But then there's Kiki's husband appears. Mm-hmm. And they have kind of a worrisome interaction.
Yeah.
Kent, hi.
What are you doing here?
I'm just having lunch with my new friends.
Who's watching the kids?
Rosie.
Isn't that your job?
Whoa, who the are you?
Yes, Kent. It absolutely is my job. And I was just about to leave. So, thank you guys so much. I can't do the math right now. Just take that and have a wonderful day, you guys. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Ike Turner.
Where you see really the level of submission that Kiki's been living in. There's the bake sale where Amy has decided she's going to go completely against the rules of the bake sale and buy some store-bought donut holes, flings them onto the table, kicks her feet up.
But the other thing is that they're clearly open, and she's clearly consumed.
Like half
at
of
least
them are gone, right? It's like 6 donut holes left in this thing. And that creates a conflict again with Gwendolyn, who comes by and challenges Amy.
Sweetie, I don't know what's been going on with you. I mean, with your weird outbursts and your terrible style, but it ends now, okay? I run this school. That no one takes a class or kicks a ball or plays a f***ing clarinet without my say-so. And I can make life a living hell for you and your dirty little children. Do you understand me?
Wow, Gwendolyn, I genuinely think you should just relax a little bit. I mean, have a donut hole. They're delicious. They're from a gas station. They're
You have crossed the line, little girl. I am going to destroy you. Winter is coming. There's
the spa day with Jane.
Yes.
Her daughter, the neurotic Jane, as you categorized her.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice scene with, mommy-daughter scene where they're both finally relaxed.
Yeah, they did. She helps the daughter ditch school. Well, she's on her way to some
Mandarin class.
She's like, what are we doing? You're stressed out by let's go to the spa.
Because Jane says, nobody likes going to Mandarin class. Everybody just vomits all day because they're so stressed out. And Mom's like, what? No, we're not going there now.
Yeah.
But Amy does also let it slip that she and Mike are having trouble.
I want you to know that no matter what happens, it's not your fault.
Why would it be my fault? Why would you even say that?
I don't know. Oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry. I suck at this.
That is an opportunity for Amy to have a moment with Janie and fix that.
Yeah.
And she does. She has a real human mother-daughter moment. Do you have any others? There's more tests.
Yeah, I do.
But let's have you jump in and take over some of these.
Amy finds out her husband is staying with his girlfriend and decides, that's it, I'm going to get laid. So she calls.
Wow. Okay.
She calls Carla
Yep.
and Kiki, and they go. They decide they're going to go out on the town, and
Yep.
Amy's going to get laid. This scene where she's trying to pick out an outfit, and she takes off her shirt, and she's picking it, and both women are like, "What is that bra you're wearing?" And she's like, "What? This is my sexy bra." She's like, "No,
No.
The improvisation around that scene is so hilarious, and I just admire that acting so much, and the director for creating this. There's going to be a scene about your bra, and they just kill it, and then they have this conversation where they're putting lipstick on.
Oh,
Amy's expressing her nervousness, like, I've only been with one guy. What if I'm with a guy and he, like, his penis is weird? Like, what if he's not circumcised? And they improvise this whole thing.
yeah.
Pretending that Kiki is the penis, and Kristen Bell is so great. She's so uncomfortable, and she's just like actively, like visibly disturbed by this whole conversation. That scene, I laughed so hard in the theater. My wife and I saw this movie together. I was bent over weeping, laughing at this scene. Okay, so then they actually go out, and Amy has this montage of failed conversations with dudes where she just keeps, first she's wearing her wedding ring, and the guy's like, right. And then she keeps talking about kids or giving him advice on how to get stains. So she's just failing at being anybody but mom.
Right.
And then Jesse, the hot widower who we haven't talked about yet, Jesse shows up, and she can just be herself with him because he's a dad too.
He's a single dad.
Yeah, he's a single dad.
Oh, you said widower, yes.
Yeah.
That implies
and so they
single.
And so they get together. And then the next morning, Mike is back. You know, he comes back, right? You can sense blood in the water. and by the way, every movie I ever seen, especially rom-coms, like they wake up and they look at their phone. Does no one else charge their phones at night in movies? Like, your phone would be dead. Like, I know that's an iPhone 6S. I know the battery life is approximately 4 hours, and you've taken 90 selfies. I hate it when that happens in movies. And then one other, we just need to plant a flag. I don't think this is a test, but meanwhile, Gwendolyn has begun to take action against Amy.
Right.
Because Amy challenged her.
Right.
Gwendolyn starts leaning on the soccer coach to take Jane, Amy's neurotic daughter, off the soccer team.
Right.
So those are the things I had as additional tests.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That is my last test, is Jamie getting benched and Amy confronting Coach Craig, who I think is played really well by a non-actor.
Oh, he's a non-actor?
J.J. Watt of the Houston Texans.
Gwendolyn made me do it!
Are you kidding me?
What is it with you moms? I am a middle school soccer coach. All I want to do is make enough money to feed my cats and fill my f***ing Prius.
Grow some balls. Jesus.
He's dead. I didn't realize he was a non-actor. He did a great job.
Yeah.
So that brings us to approach to the Inmost cave.
That it does.
The hero reaches the edge of a dangerous place where the object of her quest is hidden. As retribution for Amy's resistance, Gwendolyn extorts the soccer coach and gets him to bench Amy's daughter. So Amy decides to challenge Gwendolyn in the upcoming election for president of the PTA.
Yep.
So I see the approach as her campaign to become the PTA president. This is leading up to the face-off between hero and villain.
Up through the candidate party?
No. Oh!
Interesting.
Should we bust out our deal or ordeal card since we are now...
I guess we should.
All right.
Open your card and reveal what I said you were going to choose as the ordeal.
Amy's family leaves her. That is not what I chose.
And you said I was going to say Amy hosts candidate night, but so does Gwendolyn. Yes, that's what I...
Oh, good.
That's
okay.
what I said was going to be the ordeal.
Good.
But I had a really tough time because I went back and forth between the... I guess we should say the ordeal is where the hero faces the ultimate test. And this is a comedy, so the whole often risking death to overcome their worst fear doesn't really apply here. But the candidate night, meet the candidate party that Amy hosts, and only one person shows up.
Right.
That is, I went back and forth because, especially there were a couple episodes ago. Oh, it was the Dark Knight episode. You went on about how after Rachel dies and Harvey Dent is maimed, so the death of the love and the death of the ally,
yeah,
essentially, that's the darkest point in the story for Batman. So I was thinking about that as I was watching this film. This particular moment, Amy and her husband have decided to get a divorce. The kids go stay with dad. Even the dog leaves to go stay with dad. And then Amy is wandering around her house alone and kind of collapses in the hallway and starts crying. And even the song is talking about you've got nothing left to lose. And I was like, Jeff is going to say that this is the ordeal because it's the dark emotional point, the low point for the hero. And the reason I personally did not pick that moment as the ordeal is because I don't see any reward following it. I feel like all of that stuff that happened was all sort of vengeful forces that come to upset Amy that results in everything leaving. I kind of had a difficult time. Did you struggle with that at all?
No.
Why was that moment then not your ordeal when it has been in the past? Why did you choose the candidate party, which we both agree?
Right.
I'm just surprised.
Well, the candidate party is the face-off with the villain, which Amy wins in a hilarious way, because this is really a battle of authenticity versus the picture of perfection.
Right.
And so, Gwendolyn throws this gala with a giant PowerPoint presentation, and Martha Stewart, literally Martha Stewart, is serving, canapes. And Amy, Carla, and Kiki are there. One person shows up, and they're just getting hammered on.
And the one person showed up only because she didn't want Carla to have sex with her husband.
Right, that's right. Carla threatened. So they're getting hammered, and they text a picture of them, and it says, "Come to Amy's, we have wine," and it's like a picture of them getting drunk, and they
having
text
fun,
it,
yeah.
and so it starts going viral among the people who are bored watching Gwendolyn's PowerPoint.
Who at this point is talking about Genghis Khan and how there was no year-round school during his time, and look how violent that period was.
And again, Christina Applegate's performance in this movie is firing on all cylinders. Anyway, slowly as the night progresses, everyone leaves Gwendolyn's party and shows up at Amy's. Even Gwendolyn and her friends show up at Amy's, and that's when one of the three of Gwendolyn's clique jumps out of the car and says, "I got to go to this party."
Yeah.
So Amy wins.
Yes.
The reason why I chose that as the ordeal is because the reward is so clear. Let's move on to reward, I guess.
Yeah, might as well.
Reward, seizing the sword, the ultimate boon, where having faced their worst fear, our hero seizes the object of their quest. Well, her object was to beat Gwen and invite everyone to be a bad mom with her. And now she's got everyone on her side.
Yep.
She's earned the respect and the agreement of the other moms. And even Jesse shows up. And we have this...
Well,
yeah. So Carla sends him some vulgar text, right?
Yep. From Amy's phone.
Right. So Jesse shows up. So now we have the love scene that Vogler often refers to as part of the reward.
Yep.
Like she has won. So that's a really clear victory followed by reward.
Yeah, exactly.
That was very buttoned up to me.
Yep.
Well, that leads us to the end of Act 2.
Wow, that was fast.
Let's take a break, have a drink. We'll be back in a moment.
All right, Jeffrey. So in every episode, we pick a themed beverage.
You pick a themed beverage.
I pick a themed beverage.
I picked it once.
You picked it one time. The goal here is to try to find a beverage that relates to the film in some way or book. I'm going to hand the ceremonial bag across the table to you.
All right. Same bag we've used since episode 0.
Since October of 2017.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love bourbon. This is Jim Beam Single Barrel Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, the unapologetic and independent spirit made for those who take their bourbon seriously. And of course, who has become the face of Jim Beam?
Yep.
The inimitable Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I looked for... Okay, so in the first scene where Mila and Kathryn Hahn and Kristen Bell, their characters meet in the bar.
Right.
And they order scotch.
Okay.
I
Right.
looked for that scotch. It is called McCleary.
You remember what scotch they drink? Did they say it out loud?
No, it's on the It's on the screen.
Oh, you see the bottle?
I screen capped it.
Oh, that's
good. And then looked at it to see it because I wanted to see if I could find that one. So it's McCleary blended Scotch whiskey.
Okay.
It does not exist, and it also appears in Pulp Fiction.
Whoa.
Yes, sir.
We got to get to the bottom of that.
The Scotch that Vincent Vega pours for himself in the Wallace house while he's waiting for Mia to come downstairs for them to go out. You see very quickly that same bottle of Scotch, that same label. Why don't we pop open this Jim Beam and stop talking about this fake whiskey that doesn't even exist?
Let's do it.
Cheers.
To Mila Kunis.
It is kind of a light,
it's
kind
like
of an apple juice color to it. I expected it to be darker.
Ooh, it's strong.
Is it really? It doesn't taste. It doesn't smell. Excuse me. I haven't tasted it yet.
It's got good caramely flavor. I would enjoy it, but it's definitely it sends that heat up your nose.
On the back end, I'm getting a little bit of cherry Robitussin.
Oh, I don't taste that.
But it's not unpleasant. It's
I don't sense medicinal.
You're not getting it?
It's caramely and like a little vanilla in there. It's a little peppery too. It's complex you don't expect Jim Beam to be like a complex drinking experience, but I'm enjoying this.
Why not?
Well, I think of Jim Beam as like Jack Daniels, as like it's not Blue Label, but it's middle bottom shelf, middle shelf maybe.
Well, this particular bottle that I bought, it's a special one, and it was definitely not bargain price.
Yes.
Let me read the write-up that they've got on their website for Single Barrel. In a way, barrels of bourbon are like snowflakes. No two are ever the same. Placement in our rack house, intensity of the seasons, length of aging, all of these factors affect a barrel's unique flavors. And every once in a while, these factors come together to produce a perfect bourbon whiskey in one single barrel, a blessing of circumstance that occurs in fewer than 1% of all barrels. It is these and only these that are hand-selected by our expert distillers to become Jim Beam single barrel. Then, every bottle is individually labeled and hand-numbered as a true testament to the unique flavor and profile of each batch. Generally what happens with a distiller, they've got hundreds of barrels of whiskey, and in order to get that recurring flavor that becomes the signature flavor for that distiller, they'll blend whiskeys from a variety of different barrels so that they get the same flavor profile that you get with every bottle of whatever you're buying, so that it always tastes like
consistency.
With this kind of a situation, they have determined that from the one barrel that they tasted, that was so good that they wanted to not blend it with anything, and this becomes a very special product.
I'm not gonna lie, this is one of my favorite bourbons I've ever tasted. It is the perfect blend of caramely and sharp and robust. This is delicious.
How do you rank it next to Cutler's Artisan's 33 bourbon, which in the past you've said was the best bourbon you've ever had?
Cutler's is probably still, I'd have to A-B them. This is a little bit more caramely than Cutler's. Mm-hmm. Basil Hayden has been number 2 for a long time. And then beneath that, it's kind of a mix. But this is rapidly taking the 3rd spot.
Interesting.
And I'd have to compare the price to Basil Hayden's.
It's $50.
750 milliliters?
Yes.
Okay, so that's about the same price as Basil Hayden's.
Okay.
Strong competitor.
And this is the single barrel. Yeah. By the way, the barrel number on this is JB6065, and whoever hand wrote this has really impeccable handwriting.
Let me see.
I'd like to think it was Mila herself who wrote this, that I'm touching the same bottle that she touched. I'm just going to kiss this bottle. Act 3 begins with the road back, where the hero is pursued by vengeful forces that she disturbed when she seized the sword. So we've decided that the sword is the endorsement of all the moms, and there's this really great dialogue with Kiki and Carlo where they're telling Amy how difficult this is going to be because Gwendolyn has the soccer moms and the CrossFit moms and the lesbian moms and the
black lesbian moms. Yeah. Oh, I love those girls.
So she has earned the endorsement of all those moms, and that is the sword here. So now things start to go wrong because you can't have your hero be on high all the time.
Right.
Stuff's got to go wrong.
That's absolutely correct.
That's what happens here after the ordeal. Dale, Amy's boss, fires her.
Why is there a security guard in my office?
Hey, Amy, I'm so sorry, but we're gonna have to positively transition you.
Are you firing me?
Yuck. Okay, that's not my word. I don't like that word. But yes, I'm firing you.
Why?
Will you quit coming into the office?
Okay, maybe I've been slacking off a little bit, but Tessa took 2 weeks off when Jon Snow died in Game of Thrones, and he's not even a real person.
To be fair, we all took 2 weeks off when Jon Snow died. You're the only person that didn't take 2 weeks off. But as a token of appreciation for your 6 years with the company, I got you a very special gift.
You got me the 4-ounce bag. Couldn't even splurge for the 8.
Principal Burr then finds marijuana in Janie's locker based on a anonymous tip from a concerned parent.
Right.
Jane gets banned from the soccer team.
Well, just to pause,
and
I love the principal's performance.
Oh, absolutely, because he knows exactly which marijuana.
He's like, how did that girl get this good stuff? It's so good.
That little girl rolls a real tight J.
So having been kicked off the soccer team, Jane is furious with her mother because all of this happened because you crossed Gwendolyn James.
Yep.
And she storms off. She says, I'm going to go stay with Dad tonight because he's a better parent than you. Ouch!
Oh,
Mike does nothing. That is the biggest dagger to Amy, and she's just like gobsmacked that her daughter would say that to her because of course Amy's the better parent. She's the only parent. Gwendolyn begins a muckraking campaign against Amy, walking through the school halls and finding other moms and saying, hey, did you hear about this what happened? And I don't want to judge another mom, but I don't know that we can trust Amy as our president. The kids leave with Mike and the dog.
Even the
dog leaves.
It's a country music song.
They all leave to go stay with Mike at the Waldorf.
Yeah.
He's staying, and Amy even says, this is a divorce, not a luxury vacation.
It's a safe hotel.
It's a safe hotel.
By the way.
And they've got an 18-hole golf course at this.
So
this
good.
hotel.
So
it's like,
good.
We'll be fine.
Well, and I just have to say that the actor who plays Mike, David Walton, does an extraordinary job of you just dislike this guy from the moment you see him. At the dinner table, he's texting and drinking a beer.
Having been left by her entire family and the dog, Amy then walks through her house, rather large suburban home, and looks in on the bedrooms of her children and
walks along the hallway.
Along the family photos, dragging her hand along all the family photos
instead
on
of
the
field
hall.
of wheat, instead of the field of wheat in Gladiator, it's the photos on the wall.
And ends up just slumping in the hallway, crying. That is the road back.
Yeah, well said. I think that was perfectly executed by you, Daniel Zarzana. I approve.
Don't tease me.
I'm serious. That was perfect. I have nothing to add. Nothing except one more delicious sip of this Jim Beam single barrel.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm consistently surprised every sip I take that this is as good as it was in my memory from the last sip. I'm going to buy a bottle of this when I'm done with my Costco-sized Knob Creek. Resurrection. The hero is purified by death in a literal or symbolic way and returns to the land of the living, a changed person. Yeah. And we always skip over that the land of the living part.
Well,
I mean, I suppose that comes from Orpheus, descending into hell to rescue Penelope, Calliope, Persephone, somebody E. But in this case, the land of the living is the regular world where everyone's operating in a normal way. And Amy has been going through this massive change while everyone around her is essentially reacting to the ripples of that change. Even Gwendolyn, her life is being shaped by this dive that Amy has made into the pool.
Yeah.
It's the night of the PTA election. Amy is couch-bound. She is dead. She decides she's not even going to attend the election.
Right.
But Kiki and Carla go over to her house and give her a pep talk.
Yes, an amazing pep talk. This is what I was talking about, Carla being the heart of this movie.
We don't quit. Moms don't quit.
No, quitting is for dads.
No matter what is thrown at us moms, we have to just keep going. Mm-hmm. And do you know why?
Because we have low self-esteem.
No. It's because we love our kids. That's why. Now, are you gonna sit here and let Gwendolyn get away with this shit? You are gonna rise up like a small little white Apollo Creed. And you are gonna look at Gwendolyn and you're gonna say, you can do what you want to me. I don't care. Throw it at me. But you with my daughter. And now I have to fight you. Because I am a f***ing mom. And we protect our young.
So she gives this great speech, and you can tell. Remind me the actress's name who plays Carla.
Kathryn Hahn.
Kathryn Hahn. Kathryn Hahn, you are a genius. She's absolutely connected to the emotional of the story, and her improvisational comedian is still in gear, making this funny. And at the end, she says, get your tits up, get your tits up, get your breasts up. And they go off for, 45 seconds on boobs and how that is a metaphor.
It's really not that long, but.
And then Mila jumps on board and says, I'm going to get my boobs up. And this is the perfect alignment of emotion and humor in a comedy. It's that they took something funny and made it something emotional, and it worked.
Right.
So she's resurrected. She gets up, gets behind the wheel of her ex-husband's car.
And his 1970 Challenger.
Yeah, so another great sequence of driving.
By the way, side note, she's a menace on the road. Every time she's in a vehicle, it's speeding through these residential streets.
I related to this movie on so many levels as a parent, but not the least of which is my children's school is less than a mile from my house, and it is the most perilous drive I make.
Why?
People are out of their minds when they're driving their kids to school. It's traffic, and they've got 100 things on their mind. It is crazy. And kids do not know how to get out of a car. The reason I bought a van is so that at least the door opening is automatic. Like, I can push a button and open the door. Kids cannot figure out, wait, do I have to have my shoes on? Do my backpack go first? It's not about me. It's not about me. Anyway.
You're one with the Force. The Force is with you. You're one with the Force. The Force is with you.
So on the way to the PTA election, Kiki's husband calls and tells her to get her ass home. And Kiki finally stands up to her. And and they're just thrilled that she finally stands up to her husband.
Yeah.
Amy gets to the PTA election just in time, gives a killer speech off the cuff, and kicks Gwendolyn's ass.
An honest speech.
Yeah. She says, if you're a bad mom like me, vote for me.
Yeah.
And the mom confessionals
those were great.
Are so satisfying. Especially the one where she goes every Tuesday night I give my kids Benadryl so that I can watch The Voice. I was like, oh my God. And I am such a sucker for movie climaxes that involve audiences clapping in school gymnasiums. Gymnasia? Gymnasia. Gymnasii. That's why I love every
Karate Kid.
Every John Hughes movie. Even my book ends with people clapping in a hotel ballroom. I'm in for that. I don't know why. I'm such a sucker. So that's what I had as Resurrection.
Returning with the elixir or freedom to live, the hero, having won some precious treasure or reward, now returns to the ordinary world to share the spoils of battle. So Amy has won the election. I guess it was vote by decibels of applause. I don't know. I don't know how that voting happened that quickly, but Amy wins the election.
I love it when movies are like, yeah, we get it. Cut to, they won.
Yeah, because that's not going to be an interesting scene of the counting of the ballots.
Right.
Gwendolyn is distraught, listening to Foreigner in her Range Rover,
so great.
sobbing.
I wanna know what love is.
Sobbing. Amy goes to her window in a very good sportsman-like moment. This is a woman who planted drugs in her daughter's locker to get her kicked off the soccer team. That is a crime.
Hold on.
What?
This is the place where we have to acknowledge the comic genius of Christina Applegate. When she falls apart and reveals all the stuff that's wrong with her life.
Right.
In a very short,
sure.
One section of dialogue.
For starters, my husband was just arrested for embezzling $100 million from a children's charity. And I have night terrors. And I have to take Vicodin every 20 minutes, and I'm not even any pain. I'm just addicted to them now. I'm pretty sure my brother-in-law just joined ISIS, and he's a Jew. Oh, and also, my DVR just stopped recording Castle. Just out of nowhere. How the does that even happen? And I am the only thing holding my family together, so, yeah. It's awesome.
And
yes.
It is that union of emotionally solvent and hilarious that paints true life. This woman's life is miserable. She's brilliant. All hail Christina Applegate. She is the funniest part of this movie, hands down to me.
And that character completely opens up to Amy. I think that's part of the returning with the elixir is like people are starting to change and heal now. So even Gwendolyn completely opens up to Amy about how much being PTA president meant to her and why this is so devastating that it's now been taken from her. And
those things happen too.
Sure.
The conflicts can open up enemies to find their common ground.
Yes.
That absolutely happens.
Yeah. And the two part on kind of a not, I wouldn't say friendly terms,
mutual
but
understanding.
Mutual respect and understanding. Yeah. They're both smiling at each other. And so go ahead. I interrupted you. What were you saying?
If you can destroy or get underneath someone's identity, it's profound what you can discover that you have in common. And that's what happens in this movie is Amy takes from her the last vestige of her identity as Queen Bee. And so she has nothing to pretend about anymore. I've been beaten, so here's the truth, is my life sucks.
So the film ends with this sequence of events of showing how things are now different somehow. I mean, Amy wins PTA president and it fixes the world somehow. So the kids make up with Amy.
Right.
And the daughter apologizes for being a neurotic about soccer. And Dylan, the slacker, has made a frittata for breakfast.
Right.
And then he says, I have to go do my homework. This is a kid who relied on his mother to do his homework for him. Dale calls Amy and begs her to come back. And she gives a laundry list of here's all the things I want before I will come back. So she's got her job back. Lessons learned by other moms. Stacy appears, Jada Pinkett Smith, who doesn't have a lot of lines in this film, but what she does with her facial expressions and the way she tosses her hair when Gwendolyn smacks somebody down, I thought was fantastic.
There has to be more of her on the cutting room floor.
She explains how I told the kids to get yourself ready for school, and then my husband 50 shaded me. I'm like, what does that? Okay, I have not read that book, and nor have I seen the movie, but I think I can figure out what that meant.
50 shaded as a past tense verb.
Yeah, right.
And she,
Then you see Kiki, like ruling her roost now. Suddenly this oppressive husband of hers, Kent, now he's pushing the stroller with the twin infants, and he's got the kids' backpacks, and he's the Sherpa now, and she's walking, like her hair's put together. We've always seen Kiki frazzled. Now she's wearing this really nice blouse, and she's got an iced coffee in her hand, and she's the queen now of her family. So things are good there. Carla, again, this is a great Kathryn Hahn scene.
Oh, she's so good.
Carla says, Jackson, her big... By the way, I thought when I saw Jackson, the actor who plays Jackson, I figured that has to be Bill Fagerbake's son. He looks just like Bill Fagerbakke to me, except different hair color.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's the Carla mom's herself. She has made Jackson lunch for probably the first time ever. It was like a kale and hummus sandwich, and he's like, gross.
Yeah.
But she also promises to attend his next baseball game, which you can see on Jackson's face. That's all he wanted.
Yeah.
He just wants his mom to go to his baseball game. And then Gwendolyn shows up while the three ladies are there talking about what are we going to do today. And Gwendolyn shows up in her Range Rover and takes them all to a private plane.
Yes.
And says, where are we going to go today?
Yes.
Roll credits.
Yeah. The only thing I would add, as Amy is watching her children walk into the school, Jesse walks up.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
And says, hey, what if I came over Friday night and brought a bottle of wine and someone else watches your kids? And she spontaneously says, I love you. And he's like, wait, what?
He's
and
like,
she's
what?
Like,
What did you say? I would love that. Really, yeah.
So
I completely forgot that. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this movie, in true Hollywood ending fashion, sewed up every plot line, and it's a comedy, so you want that. You want to see everybody win.
Yeah, this is not Gangs of New York, where it's completely hopeless. Everybody fades literally. into nothingness, and there's no point to any of it.
And then the epilogue, as the credits are rolling, are the main actresses and their real-life moms talking about what it was like and their relationship.
That was great.
Forget about it. I'm weeping. Like, I can't stand those real-life things. And it's great to see, I mean, Kristen Bell's mom, hilarious, right? So if you haven't watched this movie and you're listening to this podcast, absolutely worth watching just for the end credits, you know, to see Mila Kunis talking to her mom, who's an immigrant from Ukraine, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and told Mila that, we're just moving down the street.
Right, yeah, we're just moving down the street.
Why are we getting on an airplane?
All right, that's it for this episode.
Is that it?
That's it.
We're done? Okay.
Join us next month when we cover an undisclosed movie or film or book. If you'd like...
Movie or film
book.
What's the difference?
Well, like, this is a movie. A film would be like...
Shawshank.
Yeah. No, like, I don't know.
Shawshank Redemption. That's a film.
Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick. Ooh, since I won, I get to pick...
You did. You won Deal or Ordeal, so you get to choose the 3 films that our patrons will vote on.
I may go Kubrick on it. We'll have to see. If you'd like to earn the right to vote on our next episode, go to patreon.com/heroesjourney.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Tell 5 friends about us and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. That would be most appreciated.
If this show inspires you, informs you, or even just makes you giggle, go to patreon.com/heroesjourney and learn how you can support the show and get cool, free stuff.
The Hero's Journey is produced by Jeff Garvin and Dan Zarzana with original music by Taylor Jordan. Thanks to Dean Ethington for designing for designing our logo. And thank you to Jim Beam for this single barrel Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Talk about returning with the elixir. What? Bad Moms is copyright 2016 STX Productions LLC.
Stop what you're doing.
Get down upon your knees. Got a message for you.
Whip out your phone. And follow us on Twitter @HeroesPodcast, or you can like us at facebook.com/HeroesJourneyPodcast. And check out our show notes, including links to what we're reading, watching, and playing, and drinking, and all the things at heroesjourneypodcast.com.
I'm sad this episode is over, Dan.
Journey on.